I'd like to call this meeting of the Lambersville Unified School District Facilities Committee to order at 6:30. Roll call, please.
David Pombo,
Here.
Colin Clements,
Here.
Alvina Kaiser,
Here.
Jimmy Legrand,
Here.
Thurston Harrison,
Here.
Erica Smith,
Absent.
Lisa Beer.
Here.
Receiving of public comments. At this time, should any member of the public wish to make a statement about something that is not on the agenda, this is the time to do so. Seeing none, we will move on to facility use update, facility use minutes from the May 31st meeting.
These have already been presented to the board.
All right. Finance report, item B, staff report.
This will conclude our fiscal year balances. We've got all payroll, the prior year submitted. These will be the balances that will carry forward into the first column on the next committee report. So the final balance on the far right will become the July 1, 2017 beginning balance. And for SOAR's background, we have received facility revenue, and we deposit the facility revenue by school site, by facility. So you'll see here, we keep track of how much has been received for field, multi-purpose room, et cetera.
Thank you.
And we'll be adding swimming pool on the next report.
Facility usage reports from 5/25/2017 to 7/24/2017. Staff report.
So also background, we will be changing the role of Thorsten Harrison and Jimmy Legrand will be taking the committee meetings going forward. I'll be attending because I've been obviously addressing a lot of these issues over the last couple of years. The facility usage report that you see in front of you have been separated by school site. We've combined all the districts. Heavy usage is always in the multi-purpose room area and usually the same time peak period after school, and it starts to decline by 10.
Questions or comments by the committee? Item D, denied applications. Staff report.
You find those on page 12. As you can see, we listed the organizations that were denied and the reason why they were denied, many of them due to lack of custodial coverage. We were unable to accommodate their requests at the sites they requested.
As far as the custodial coverage, are we short on custodians for our own needs, or is this just because it's off hours and those sorts of things?
It's off hours and the custodians work only till 5:30 p.m. So a lot of these activities were in the evening, and we gave staff option to work overtime, but it's not required. And if they wanted to, we approved it. If they didn't want to work overtime, then we rejected them.
Okay. Further questions or comments by the committee?
What kind of, what feedback did we get from these organizations when we denied them?
We didn't get any complaint, I think.
In some cases, we were able to put them at a different site.
Yeah, I'm talking about the ones that, the no accommodations means
We did not.
we couldn't put them anywhere because we didn't have the custodial staff, right?
Right.
And we didn't get any
Yeah,
comments?
I didn't receive any emails or anything.
Me or Jimmy, if that was the case.
Very interesting.
No, I think in summers past, I mean, there's been no usage of any of the schools in summer, so I think that we're doing our best effort to at least make them available as much as possible. So,
And they're realizing that apparently.
yeah, I mean, everyone's been pretty cool I talked to. Some of them are very thankful that we're making an effort to make the schools open because there's not a ton to do at Mountain House in the summertime. So they realize we're trying to do our best to make them available when they want them.
Last question. Excuse me. do these all represent one request? In other words, if an organization requests 3 or 4, and they get turned down for all 3 or 4, you know, like for all of them, would that be one row on this report, or would it be 4?
It'll be 4. It's
Okay.
going permit-wise, each application.
It's by permit number, so.
I also wanted to mention, remember, we were never able to accommodate summer requests until last year. Last year was the first year we allowed, what was that, your first summer?
Yeah.
Yeah, my first summer here.
It's the first summer we were able to accommodate some usage over the summer.
Thank you. Item E, reimbursements to organizations. Staff report?
These were cancellations by the organizations. So due to summer, they booked the facilities, but they didn't have enough students to conduct the event, so they canceled. There was only
Proper
one,
notice, right?
there were short notices, but yeah, we took care of them. And then there was one security deposit that was returned back.
Thank you. Questions or comments by the committee? Item 5, information and discussion items, tier fee structure. Staff report?
I know in the past that we had a committee member ask questions about the tier groups and the differences between tiers 3 and 4. So we decided to go back and reevaluate. You'll see we've also included the, oh, maybe we didn't. I thought we had the Tracy one included.
I have it here.
Do they each have them as well?
No.
Okay, we did compare them to Tracy Unified School District to try to be more, actually, we're still pretty competitive compared to Tracy Unified School District, even if we were to suggest moving forward with these rates. So we thought we would bring it forward for discussion. Obviously, we don't think that we should make any action at this point, but maybe when we come back at the next meeting, go ahead and bring some rates forward for approval for implementation maybe in January, 1st of the new year.
All right. Doesn't seem as though most of the fees, the recommended is a big difference. There are 1 or 2 exceptions, or several where the fees actually went down in some columns, so that's.
And another piece of information, we haven't normally embedded a 2% increase every year. Well, I know some other districts in Tracy Unified has taken the rates and have gone ahead and added an additional 2%, like an inflation type. We've never done that. So it should probably be something to consider, reevaluating all the rates, since we have not taken action to change rates when we did start this.
Well, I think that, you know, in the years 2005 through 2012, 2006 through 2012, an inflation factor would be kind of would have been a kind of a distasteful thing, but in today's economy, just a small COLA adjustment each year would not be unreasonable.
However, if you look at on the financial report, our ending balance is significantly more than last year. So we still, we're collecting these revenues, and unless there's a project that we need to reimburse, I think we're sitting pretty well with what our balance is for the end of the year.
Yeah, of course, we haven't had any big ticket items that we've had to.
Right. And I know over time, some of those things, we'll have to do some maintenance and upgrades in some of these areas where I'm sure some of that money will come from, but, and I don't know, maybe we can project projects as a way of rationalizing the upgrade in fees if and when we do that.
Sounds reasonable. Any further questions or comments? Item B, fee review for youth versus adults. Staff report?
Jimmy, you,
You're up.
I don't know why it's on here.
Didn't you review it? You reviewed it with Rita, didn't you?
No. I don't know why it's on here, but,
I know in previous meetings, we had
we had,
talked about it a little bit. I wasn't
Yes.
sure if there was something
the
new.
question came to me is, why do we charge, what do we charge adult groups? And my question is, they're considered a tier 3 unless they're associated with some nonprofit organization, and that's the rate we charge them. So that's my answer to the
So
question.
Okay, so we
Well-
just had not publicly made that statement, so that would be the,
If I recall correctly, the question was nonprofits that have, such as Mountain House Flag Football, that have a youth component as well as an adult component in the nonprofit. And there was some sentiment, I don't even remember.
I do.
Do you? Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's that flag football just creates a lot of wear and tear on the field, and some of the fields for flag football are CSD, granted, but the concept was not that we don't want flag football. I mean, the organization, my kids were all in flag football for years, right? But there is a difference between supporting the organization, between the wear and tear, because kids, essentially our students, for lack of, if I could do a hasty generalization, and an organization that wants to play adult rugby, right, essentially, on the field, because adults are going to wear and tear the field more. And I even asked the question, well, is it a one-off for the fields, or is it other things? And the comment was, no, adults, they can do the slam dunk and hold on, and granted, if they break it, they're going to pay for it, but they can still create a lot more wear and tear on even the interior equipment than kids typically do. And so that's why this was coming forward, is there was a perception and kind of a consensus among it that we don't want to say no, adult leagues, or sections of leagues that are primarily adults can't rent it, but we also wanted to acknowledge that the wear and the tear on our resources is greater for those divisions of the organizations. So I think we were looking for a recommendation as to a price point, really. So if we don't have that, then I'd say we table it for next time. It's not like it's, oh my gosh, if we don't have a new tier developed today, the sky's gonna fall. It's just something that we kind of talked about and kind of had a consensus about, I think.
And another thing that I would find helpful in the discussion that we may have at a later meeting is, what are we talking about? Is it just the flag football adult league who was playing at our facility when Bethany Park was being rehabbed, or is it an ongoing thing? Are there adult basketball leagues that are using our multi-use rooms? And because if it's just a minor,
And temporary.
yes, then maybe it does need to be addressed. If it's something that's ongoing and there's, a substantial amount of use, then maybe it's something we do need to look at it and address.
That's right. We had asked for context surrounding that. Yeah.
All right, so we will table this and bring it back
Bring it back.
at a later date when we have both recommendations and maybe some usage figures that we can look at. Item C, Mountain House High School Theater. Staff report?
we obtained some samples, and I know we asked Mr. Faubert to kind of take a look at it and maybe present some additional information. We do obviously have a theater that will become available this coming forward this school year. And we did discuss that we would want,
Maybe.
for our school site.
Oh, school side, there you go.
And obviously, we did discuss that we wanted to make sure that we all knew how to operate it, and that likely only district personnel would be the only ones who could operate it. But that we would allow community to rent, obviously with the presence of a district employee who knows how to use the equipment. So, Mr. Faubert, thank you.
So we've discussed this since a very long time ago about the presence of a theater in town. It's likely to be the only theater in town ever.
It's coming right after Safeway.
We follow
Which
through with
is-
our promises.
Which is in 18 to 24 months.
Yeah. I think I heard the 18 to 24 month line when I first came to Mountain House 10 years ago.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
Yeah. So I think all of us have, right? Yeah, it's been. Anyway, so it's going to be a great facility. It won't have a full fly. I think that's important to say for the record. It will not. So for theater people, a full fly it's a taller building where you're able to pull stuff up into the rafters, basically, on stage. This has a track system that pulls it in and out to the side. It's tall, but it's not tall enough to have a full fly. And that had something to do with actually the building codes in Mountain House. I believe we weren't allowed to go that tall. So it is not a full fly, but it is functional with the tracking system. It's a different kind of system. There is shop off to the side where those things can be tracked off into and things like that. So it is a professional stage, not a full fly stage, but it will have professional lighting and sound that's all integrated. It will have a control booth that's lockable, thank goodness, at the top of the theater. And as Alvina said, that equipment is extremely expensive. It is computerized. There are programs that have to be learned in order to run it. And in order to do that, we need to have personnel to be able to do that. And likely, it's not just custodial personnel. This is like theater personnel, and it's likely an adult because of, depending on what we can figure out with student workers. But even if you were to have student workers working the theater, you'd have to have an adult there for the duration of any professional kind of thing. Now, if an organization is coming in to just use the stage as a presentation space, or you're going to have a speaker up there and they just want the lights on, that's definitely something that can be happen. But we know our community. They're going to want to use it as a theater, probably especially in the summers. The good thing is that our new drama teacher is a resident of our community. He actually is involved with a nonprofit organization that's going to bring, he's going to use the drama department at Mountain House High School to bring some fundraisers in for the drama department and actually bring in things like that. So there's opportunities for programs to happen in the summer. Also, I know that there are other community organizations that are going to want to rent. So again, this is preliminary. The theater is likely to open, from what I hear, in January-ish. And as the high school principal on the site that manages that building, I would urge the Facilities Use Committee to consider recommending to the board that we hold off on rentals of the facility until we understand how to use it ourselves. Our own theater teacher needs to learn how to use the systems and train kids on how to use the systems, and to train custodial staff on how to at least minimally use the system for minimal use. And that if any rentals happen within maybe the first 6 months of that opening, that it come to the Facilities Use Committee first to approve. I don't know that we will be ready, unfortunately. I would love to. We all remember, a lot of us have kids in the community that will benefit from community programs even in the summer. But I don't know that we'll be ready that first summer to know how to rent out the facility. Now, that's up to this group to recommend to the board. But after that time, when we know how it works, we know who is going to be able to be available to help run the site for especially full programs that might be run there or plays that might go on there. Then, as the principal of the site, I would totally advocate for putting it out for rental to community organizations, theater groups, dance studios, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be a great facility. I've walked through it twice now in its shell format, and it's impressive just that way. There's going to be a lot of benefit to our community. We already have an awesome music teacher. We have a great drama teacher this year coming up, and we're going to build those programs. And the programs that are run by the community feed the high school program. It's kind of like our community sports organizations feed the programs at the high school. So we want to provide that access for people. So we have looked, I know I've looked at some things that the district has sent me. I know Tracy Unified has some documents that they use as their theater policy. My recommendation would be to work together with the drama teacher at the high school to really think about, especially after we get the theater up and running. I think right now the drama teacher can kind of generally look at what kinds of do's and don'ts do we want to have, but I think we need to have the facility turned over to us in our hands and live and breathe in it before we can just start letting it out for anybody to use. We don't know where the nooks and crannies are. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know anything about that stuff yet. So just so that people understand, again, for public record, there's a lot of rooms in this facility. There could be problems with closing off areas just because there's a lot of nooks and crannies in the area. So we have to be careful about how we supervise it when it is being rented. Different than renting out a gym where it can kind of be unlocked and the custodian can be around. In a theater facility, when it is rented to the public, the personnel that works for the district needs to be actively supervising. There are lots of areas to get into. There are catwalks that people can get into. The band and choir and drama and theater area is in a big open hallway. We need to monitor. We can obviously block it off with stanchions and things like that, but those are easily gone around and things like that. So that's one thing. There's a lot of storage and there's a set shop there that is going to be housing a lot of tools. Tools are often a stolen item, very easily stolen and walked off with, expensive power tools probably. And so that area is also open, and we need to make sure that that's being supervised as well. There's dressing rooms, there's bathrooms. We have to monitor food and drink. There will be no eating or drinking inside the theater. That's typical for theaters like this. This is not a movie theater. This is a performance theater. Typically, you do food and drinks in the lobby, but then you have to have people monitoring whether people are walking in with food or drink or not, and make sure that is taken care of. And so I would advocate that there be some very specific rules and deposits made when people, maybe a greater deposit than what is already required by other facilities, and to be very stringent about, look, if you bring food into this facility, you lose your deposit. I don't care if you didn't spill it, you allowed food to come into the facility, or, X, Y, or Z happened, you're going to lose your deposit. Be specific about what the rules are for that. We want to protect the facility. Again, I have no qualms as the site person of renting it out. I just want to be very specific, and I want to be able to have it lived in by us before we really get to lending out, a couple $100,000 worth of lighting and sound and all of the equipment that goes along with the theater. So does anybody have any questions about that?
I don't have any issues with any of what you said. In fact, I think that we need to look hard at vetting the groups, organizations that use that facility in particular more than a multi-use room or a soccer field or whatever else it may be. We need to make sure that they know what they're doing, they're serious, and all of that. I notice on this, and I know that this is a sample policy from Tracy Unified, but the first line is, due to state labor laws, students are no longer allowed to run light and sound except for curricular and extracurricular functions. My question to that would be, assuming that is a true and correct statement, could we set up a work experience sort
that
of?
Was my exact thoughts when I saw that, and it's not listed here. A lot of times districts will do things like that to just say that's our rule. I haven't had time to investigate that. I know that we have our coordinator of alternative education just went to the work permit conference about what students are and are not allowed to do as a child. Some of the things that we learned our students were already doing, like sign waving on the street. Kids are not allowed to do that until they're 18, things like that. So there are rules. She's the expert, I think, in the district right now. She's went to the conference and she knows. So I can consult with her this week and ask her
Actually,
what her ideas are about that. Yes.
I would, as a board member and a facilities committee member, I would be interested to hear
Yeah.
a presentation
Okay.
on what students can do
Yeah.
directly from, if she
About work
went-
overall,
Yeah, some
right?
PowerPoint and just basically give us kind of
Do that.
the
Jen, if you can
an
email me.
outline of that.
Anyway,
Yeah, Karen can make that presentation at a board meeting even if you just want to know about work permits.
I wasn't sure if it needed to be a board thing or not. That's Pombo, but
either way would
Yeah.
be fine. I just find it a waste to have our students who are trained
Absolutely.
to run things
I agree.
and able to run things, and because of some silly state law,
Well, and
They
there's
are-
always a
they're-
way around those,
yeah,
right?
they're-
There's
they're
always
not allowed
another
to
law.
do it, and we have to
Right.
find someone else to
Right.
train and pay to do
Right.
something that, because for one thing, we can keep the prices down on the on
Exactly.
the rental of the facility and those things if we have students, and the students learn something.
Right.
They learn how to do something.
Well, especially we're looking for our drama program to be a CTE program, not just drama classes. We want them to learn how to what it means to manage a facility and run a facility, and absolutely that's something that I'm sure we can figure out how to do with kind of internship types of things. This will be a busy facility. Our school is already, but this will make it busier. Pool
Even-
and theater.
even if the rules are that they can't do it through the school, that if you have students for career technical education, it has to be with an outside entity. I'm pretty sure there are other entities in the community, I don't know, SoMoho, that would step up to the plate and sponsor a program, that
Or
would
school
enable
connected organizations like the VAPA Boosters
something.
organization.
There's gonna be a way
There will
to
be.
create a CTE opportunity for our kids.
I think, in Tracy itself, it's easy to say this, they have the Grand Theater that people can rent, right? And it's a professional union facility where they have workers who go and do all that stuff for people. We won't have that, but I think that you're right, there's probably a way to find out how to get kids work experience in a theater. Yeah. We'll investigate that, and the first step is to ask our coordinator of Alted.
One comment, if you have a theater stagecraft class,
Yeah.
those students, right, I don't know if you have that.
Not yet, we will, yeah,
But all those students,
absolutely.
Does our theater have an orchestra pit?
Ish.
Okay.
It is. It was a big discussion. I was advocating for the hydraulic one that goes up and down, and they all looked at me like, "Stop opening your mouth. You keep costing us more money."
Yes.
So what the seats in that section go down a little bit, and I think the stage is 3 foot high. So there's an orchestra area, and the seats in the first several rows are removable to create a bigger orchestra area. So you have to remember I'm a visual performing arts guy, so I'm envisioning musicals and all kinds of stuff like that. So absolutely that will happen. In the first 2 years, we will have some sort of musical going on there. Yeah.
We just won't be able to lift the orchestra.
Oh, dang it. Or put them way down, yeah.
Remember that.
Further questions or comments from the committee?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anything else that anyone on the committee would like to speak to? Anything for future agendas or question you thought of from one of the previous items that you neglected to ask at that time?
I do have a question, and it relates to the Measure L bond, and I may have missed some information, but is there an update on the snack shack for the stadium area? Is there a plan for that or a timeline?
There is a plan for it. In fact, there will be 2 snack shacks, one on the home side and one on the visitor side. The last I heard, they were still in the state architecture
DSA.
DSA.
They're still at DSA, the plans.
Are they? And so we're probably looking at them being built sometime in the fall. I'm not sure of I don't think we can set a timetable until the plans get out of DSA and we can start looking at things. But unfortunately, they won't be ready, of course, for this football season, but hopefully, maybe for some of the games towards the end of the season or something, they'll be.
They're pretty simple buildings, so if we can get out of the state, they should go up quickly.
Great, thank you.
Engineering.
Anything further?
On the future agenda topics, we have the tiers fee structure because we knew we wouldn't be obviously making any changes, but is this something, since we kind of mentioned the funds are sitting okay, do we just want to table any fee changes at this time? Just leave the rates as they are? I know, because originally this had come up at a previous one, this is why we brought forward some
Right.
additional research.
I think that,
We're obviously getting people that want to use our facilities, it's all we have.
yeah, but, I think that it's important that we, have a fair rate structure. And if we're out, like if we're not, comparable to similar facilities in nearby, if we're lower, then I would say, a recommendation to increase, notwithstanding the amount that we have,
Right.
because before we can say, oh, that we have enough of a reserve, we kind of have to see the plan that Lisa was asking for to say, what is going to need replacing, what is going to need upgrading, what additional equipment are we going to need to buy, that kind of thing. Because I see a number, and some could argue it's a big number. I don't know. I don't know whether it's a big number until we see, okay, well, if there's one damage to a backboard, then that makes it all go away.
Right.
Then, and I just don't have the context to be able to say whether or not we have enough,
It's
and
fairly
therefore
new
we
for
should.
us
we
as
should-
well. I know
right?
it's because we're growing the way we are and every single space is being used and we do not even have spare classrooms like we used in the past to be able to rent out. And we're having to deny, it's very difficult to allow an after-school tutoring program to come into the district when every single classroom is being utilized. And the classroom teachers are worried about their stuff that are in the desks, on the shelves, in the bookcases. It is becoming more difficult.
And I would never, I wouldn't go so far like, hotels use yield management, where if you are selling out, then you automatically raise prices. I wouldn't say we should go to something like that. That seems kind of usurious, but I think we should make sure that we're we are comparable in line with, that's what I meant to say. I apologize. In line with, other facilities, and if we're lower, then we raise them just because, hey, we're comparable with them,
And I think maybe we can do some additional, like, all of us can kind of research additional districts to see still, because we just kind of looked over at Tracy, maybe see what other districts in our county are doing with their rates as well. So maybe we could just bring this back when we have additional districts that we've compared them to.
yeah.
Should we add the theater rates as well, at the same time, because that's gonna be timely for that?
We can look at
Absolutely.
them, we might as well look at those rates.
Okay.
But it sounds like we could probably continue to work on these theater rules over the next 2 committee meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
3.
think once the theater opens, we may not have a finalized plan, but it would be nice if we have a start of a plan, so that then once the theater is open, we can do a walkthrough and flush through some of those details that Mr. Faubert was talking about and add those things to the
There are some
plan.
corners in there I've seen walking through. Of course, all the walls are not up yet, but I could see ooh, here's some around the corner. People are going to have to keep monitoring these or close them up somehow.
Yeah, and as far as when we open the theater, I don't know that we need to say 6 months after we get it, 8 months after, 4 months after. I think it's something we can look at and see how things are proceeding. And also, when we first open it up, we don't have to open it up and say anybody can rent it for anything at any time. We can say, bring us a proposal, and we will look at your proposal and say yay or nay at that time.
Similar to our overnight requests.
Exactly.
And I imagine if somebody just wants to use the general lighting, turn the lights on and have a performance or whatever, that would be much easier and we could accommodate that much sooner than we could somebody who wants to do a production with the computerized programming system.
Yes, I would think so.
Okay. Anything else to add to a future agenda? I'm sure that theater will take time and the fees.
Can't think of anything
I think next meeting
specific
we
at
should
this
open up
time.
the dates for the next, because we have opened it October, end of October, right?
Oh, yeah. During our next, or during the next
During the
facility
next,
committee
yeah.
meeting, discuss the next window period that we open for the remaining of the year. We'll establish that, because right now, we've allowed tier 1 and tier 1A to put in all of the requests throughout the year, but everyone else has been limited to November 1st, or October 31st?
October 31st.
October 31st. So we need to then open the window soon, for the next, after school's in, and the principals can take a look at the rest of the year. So maybe we could meet October,
First week of October.
maybe first week of October for the next meeting.
Fine with me.
Shall we
I didn't bring my
try to
phone.
calendar it at this time, or do you want to do that by email when it gets closer
Oh,
to?
let's do that. We'll send out an email. We'll just, at the board meeting, we'll announce that we'll be scheduling a meeting and providing the date at a later time.
Okay.
Sounds good. Anything further? Then we can adjourn this meeting at 7:07. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.